All right, here we go. I am getting some emails shared. Why? Because our flight was delayed due to fog. We left right on time. We're supposed to be with my friends on their boat today at 3:30. It's now 6:30. We're stuck in Los Angeles, California. It was foggy when we left Vancouver into Seattle, and then from Seattle, it was supposed to be straight through to Mexico, and the fog kept us spiraling in the sky for about an hour, and then we had to go to Portland, land, refuel, and fly back to Seattle. And then they said, nope, we can't get you out of here. The earliest is whatever time it was. I think they wanted us to stay at the airport for 10 hours, fly to Atlanta, and hang out there for 9 hours, and then fly to Cabo. Sarah found another flight through them with our same ticket, but through Delta. She got on the phone and phoned us. We got a flight to Los Angeles, and now we're staying here, and we can't leave until tomorrow. Unfortunate, and I'm going to go bonkers not doing anything. So, I'm sharing some voices. That's my rant. And I'm in a silly hotel room, so I luckily got my computer, so I'm going to throw down some B-roll you guys can watch instead of this lame-ass hotel room. Now, listen to this. This is titled Picture 2. Okay, there's a typo in the title, I'm sure. It says Picture 2 Faux with the pool and tarp up East Harrison. All right, so right away I know what that is. Those are the loggers that found a kid's pool, I think, and a tarp and a bunch of other shit way the hell up, way up. I think they were heli logging, I believe. And he sent the pictures to they took pictures of what they found. So let's hear it. It said, hey Steve, here's the pic to go with the experience I had up East Harrison when we found the pool and tarp. As well, after listening to your latest upload, you mentioned tracks disappearing. I've never encountered this, and only ever seen this one set of footprints up above Boston Bar while logging. But it reminded me of a book I read, quote, Haunted Waters, Tales of the Old Coast, end quote, by Dick Hammond. You and fellow listeners may find it interesting. He speaks of his father tracking a buck and seeing the buck, only to find the tracks disappear. This is another interesting story of a woman and her family with strange sorry, let me read that one more time. This is another interesting story. There is another interesting story. Okay, you got to be patient. We've been flipped around airports and jets for a day. There is another interesting story of a woman and her family with strange pupils in their eyes that his father met in a secluded inlet somewhere north of the Sunshine Coast. So Sunshine Coast is up coast from Vancouver, British Columbia. Thanks again for your effort into this channel, man. Ruben Rutledge. Okay, man, appreciate you. There's the photos. That's some hard, dangerous work falling. You know, a bunch of friends of mine are fallers, and a friend of mine flies the sky crane too. And that is a random, bizarre find, isn't it? Bizarre. But anyways, man, keep us posted. And talk. Make sure you talk openly with all your pilots and all your fellow loggers, all right, man? Because you know you know somebody in the logging industry who's had these experiences too, and we want to hear about them, no matter what. Here comes another one. This is titled Something Weird. Hi, Steve. I'm a long-time subscriber and avid outdoorsman, fishing and hunting and such, and know most of the wildlife that Texas has to offer. I've seen a black panther in the marshes of southeast Texas once. You can call me Sill. I live in central Texas, about 10 miles outside of Austin, near the town of Manor. I live in a fairly large apartment complex. Outside of my back porch is a high line easement, about 40 yards out and 40 yards wide. 20 yards past that is a 250-acre nature preserve with a creek running through it. There are wild turkeys, deer, rabbits, skunks, possums, and other animals, as well as a substantial size family of wild hogs in those woods. Yeah, I think there's wild hogs in every woods in Texas, isn't there? And all the neighboring states heading east. One evening at early dusk, sundown, and still plenty of light left, I was grilling some burgers and staring out at the other side of the high line at the tree line. There's a row of cane along the outer edge of the trees that have ranged with my rangefinder at 106 yards. I jokingly said aloud, "Come on, Sasquatch, I know you're out there, so just show yourself." And at that very precise moment, a huge object walked out from behind the cane into the open. It was about 4 feet tall and 7 to 8 feet long. It walked out about 10 yards and stopped. It surprised me so much that I said loudly, "Oh, wow." That's when it turned around and walked back towards the cane, and I got a good look at it. It looked like a huge boar hog. I guess around maybe 400 to 500 pounds. It was massive compared to the hogs I'd seen out there before. I thought to myself, damn, that's a huge hog. As it walked behind the edge of the cane line, I swear it stood up on its hind legs and walked behind the cane out of sight. It looked exactly like a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe, or whatever they're called. Just like all the photos and drawings we see as it disappeared into the woods. I was dumbfounded to say the least, and I still question my sanity about what I saw. But what I understand after thinking about this, maybe it was some sort of shape-shifting Sabe or something. I don't know. But I do know I saw what looked like a huge wild hog stand up and walk off on its hind legs. I've never heard or seen that happen. I have seen hogs stand up on their hind legs momentarily, but never walk as this thing did. Anyway, thanks for what you're doing and your quest to spread the knowledge and the truth about what's going on out there in the real world. Love your drone shots and would like to know what drone you use. Also, missing Sarah's cooking show, LOL. Sincerely, Sil in Texas. P.S. I will send another story of the Saratoga Lights and Ghost Road later because I'm running out of time. I saw the story of that dude that saw something out there one night with his friends, and we'll put in my story soon. All right, man. There you go. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Right? Triggering each other to share what we know after you hear something similar from your same zones and more. Pretty crazy. Shit, I was just going to say something on that note. I lost my train of thought. If I can, I'm going to add in a video I took from the plane. I was looking out the window when we spun around from Portland heading back to Seattle today, and it was total Blue Bomber day with a layer of fog in the... All right, this is titled, Why the Cover-Up and Misleading BS. Here's my answer. All right, got my ears. Steve, this is going to be a bit long, but I need to get it all out. If you read this on video, you are more than welcome to use my name, Brad Wilkinson in Georgia. I've written you before about hearing the screams, the cries, and the howls of the Sabe/Sasquatch/Bigfoot/forest people all around ever since I was a kid in southern Georgia. And I sent you a couple of recordings I made about 2 years ago. I had recorded the screams that led to what I have come to call a midnight howling and screaming party, with coyotes, bobcats, and maybe even red wolves now, here in west central Georgia. This is a very common occurrence around here, and one thing I saw or read recently is that it may be a result of the forest people attacking coyotes after a deer kill. Interesting idea. I do have a couple of other things before I give you my answer to the why question. Right after my previous message to you, I had something knock or slap down my parabolic dish microphone in the backyard late one evening. My dog had just gone past the location of the microphone at the rear fence and was now on the side of the yard. And I suddenly heard this loud shout or scream, and the ringing gong-like sound of the parabolic dish being slapped and then hitting the ground. At first, I was thinking it was a dog, but then it registered that he had already gone past there. At the same time, he came tearing toward the house from the side yard, all the while looking back at the location, which is about 150 feet away. He was obviously pretty scared of whatever it was. The dish was placed inside the fenced yard about 6 to 8 feet from the rear fence, up next to a large Bradford pear tree for what I thought would be a bit of cover. Naturally, I didn't go out there until the next morning. The dish was collapsed on the ground about 10 feet from where I'd placed it, and the audio cable had been snatched so hard it was torn loose from the plug at the microphone jack. The recorder got the initial part of the scream and the slap, but not enough to really make out what it was. So, definitely not any solid evidence of who did it. There was also a clear smearing or wiping of dust on the back of the dish, a good bit higher than my hand. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a coyote. Second thing I said before that, I have not ever been afraid to say what I think. I'm not afraid of ridicule or what someone thinks of me when I mention the subject, and I stand by that still. Most of my friends joke with me about it, and they know I am serious in my thinking, so they let me be. But after watching your channel for years now and hearing the stories of others, I've come to realize that my own experiences when I was a kid alone in the river bottoms and woods of my home area have deeply affected me. One more than I thought. I was never an avid hunter, so the draw to go in the woods wasn't that strong in that way. And even though I love the idea of being out in the wilderness and enjoying the natural world, the reality is I am somewhat afraid of it. At least I am afraid of being deep in the woods alone, especially at night. Solo camping is definitely out. I used to pass it off and think it was because of the bad people who may be out there and getting into an altercation with someone, especially with firearms or something. Wasn't anything I wanted to expose myself to. But now I'm pretty sure it was those feelings of being watched and a couple of tree shaking, bush tearing, screaming bluff charges that I experienced as a teenager. Those scared me shitless when they happened, and I had mostly forgotten about them until I heard some of the accounts you have read. Now at 58 years old, I realize they affected me more than I thought, and have somewhat kept me going out there from going out there as much as I would have wanted. When I go into the woods alone or at night, I'm immediately uncomfortable, and the hair is standing up. Well, it is what it is. I have time left to overcome it, right? Okay, now, let me get to the subject of this message. Why? Why the cover-up and all the misleading bullshit? I think I can tell you why. The powers that be want nothing more than total control of the planet, and desperately want to have full control of us in every way imaginable. Just look around. They are doing it everywhere, and have been progressively chipping away at our freedoms for decades. It's just more obvious now. However, at the same time, they are keenly aware that the forest people are not even remotely under their control, never will be. Their natural powers far exceed ours, even with our technology. Because of this, they are a huge threat, maybe more so than we people are, even as big as that could be itself if we banded together against them. Therefore, the powers that be desperately need to eliminate the threat that the forest people pose, and I think they have already declared war on them. You have heard this yourself from people in your northern provinces, but they're also afraid of being found out and need to control the narrative, as usual. The only way the general public would ever be convinced that killing these forest people is even remotely okay, and not what it actually is, genocide, as if they are considered a wild animal that is a threat to us. As a result, we get all the propaganda that the intelligence organizations who are tools of the powers that be can muster. They have to make us think that killing these people is really just eliminating the threat of a wild animal that means us harm. Like an errant, starving polar bear or grizzly. They want us to believe that they are not people, not even remotely. Because if they were, we the people would be solidly against killing them. For the obvious examples of this controlled propaganda, I'm pointing out, I think you meant, we have things such as the misleading Gigantopithecus bullshit, the North American wood ape bullshit, the metatarsal brachyddermal ridge footprint, quote, scientist, end quote, and his misleading unknown great ape bullshit, all the bought and paid for spineless scumbag leaders and members of, quote, research organizations, end quote, and their bullshit of mistreating people, the bullshit discrediting attacks on Dr. Ketchum, decades of bullshit TV shows, complete with paid-for celebrities and all the rest of it. Anyone can easily add to this list. However, the key thing to see is that all of the propaganda is slanted toward the narrative of an unknown great ape, or of some missing link or something. And the fear factor is always the central theme and is often hyped up. Never once do any of these sources even remotely breach the idea that the forest people are people, and that we could possibly meet them and get to know them and learn from them. You will never see that on TV. As one of your other contributors has said, all of this propaganda has one goal: to divide us. Is to make us fight amongst ourselves, that we don't organize against them. It is literally divide and conquer. We have academia looking down their noses at us, telling farmers, loggers, hunters, and other honest, hardworking people who live their lives in and around nature that they didn't see what they thought they saw, because we just aren't academically worthy to make that observation. We have organized religion telling the same people that what they saw doesn't exist because their God didn't create an animal like that. And so we must either be delusional, or it's just the devil's work making us see things. Or they are these biblical fallen angels bred with human females, or some such bullshit as that. This itself stems from a typical misinterpretation of what the mitochondrial DNA result is saying. Unknown male means just that. We don't have his DNA on file, at least not until now. It doesn't mean mysterious biblical creature. It just means it isn't in the database. But it does show that we are related closely. Lastly, we have our governments, who are tools of the powers that be. Please make no mistake here. Government people and organizations are not the powers themselves. They are bought and paid for tools, telling us that we are fools for thinking we saw anything other than a bear or something, and completely dismissing the observation, belittling and discrediting us, and telling us nothing to see here. Now get back to work. All these groups are following the same agenda because their leaders are in fact members of the global control network that the powers that be have established to divide and conquer us. The end result is the ridicule, the discrediting, the avoidance of the taboo subject, and all the absolute hate and discontent that has been injected into our society by this propaganda when it comes to the subject. It serves to hide what they are really doing by keeping us all distracted while fighting among ourselves, dividing us. I seriously think this is exactly what's going on, and years of thinking about this along the same lines as you has led me to this conclusion. The events of the past few years and the acceleration of the propaganda machine has put me more and more into this way of seeing it. It's a sad state of affairs, along with the other things they are doing to us around the world. I hope they come crashing down at some point. Then we can all get back to living peaceful lives. I'm just afraid it won't be in my lifetime. The best defense we have is knowledge and awareness. That is a much bigger threat to them than forest people or portals or UFOs or anything. That we the people know who they are and what they are doing. I apologize for the length, but I hope it helps a bit. Thank you for being the voice of the people. We certainly appreciate what you're doing. Take care. Brad. Okay, man. Wise words, Brad. Wise words. Those are words that everybody here should take from what you will or leave it. Right? But make sure you listen. If you don't listen to the other side that you just may not agree with, and you don't listen to people speak, you're gonna lose. You're gonna mean nothing. Right? I think that's true. If you don't listen to everyone, you're not gonna make any kind of a positive difference anywhere you go. There you go. Wise words. Wise words. Not much I can say to add to that. But you hit a whole bunch of nails on the head. Now, who's next? All right, here's another one. This is titled, Are Sasquatch Involved in Missing People Cases? Hi, Steve. My name is Martin Welby, and I'm now living in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I recently emailed you about an eye-opening encounter I had back on Vancouver Island near Port Alberni in 1980. I'm compelled again to email you regarding something you said in one of your videos that I was watching with great interest the other day. Before I get into that, a little about myself. I'm an outdoor enthusiast with a biology/fisheries background, and ever since the Passion film came out in the 1960s, I've been keenly interested in the Bigfoot/Sasquatch phenomenon. For approximately 40 years now, I've gathered all kinds of information from countless books as well as the internet pertaining to these beings. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out from Dr. Melba Ketchum's DNA fingerprints that indeed Bigfoot/Sasquatch are in fact a hybrid species between a North American Aboriginal woman and a relic hominid man that lived thousands of years ago. They are people, not apes, as you have pointed out in your videos. Having said this, though, I must bring to your attention, as I stated earlier, something you mentioned in a video. You said that you are 99.99% that these people are not involved in the many disappearances of people in our forest and wilderness areas. You've always been a staunch believer in keeping an open mind when it comes to this topic, and so I was taken back by that comment. Is there some information that we, the viewers, are not privy to, that you have been told, that makes you so sure the Sasquatch/Bigfoot are not subject in the missing people cases around North America? Here's my take for what it's worth. Human beings are born with personalities at birth, and our personalities might be influenced by our surroundings/environment as we grow up, depending on the kinds of everyday experiences that we are subjected to. Because of many influencing factors, some of us can turn into bad hombres, while others can display kindness, compassion, and love for our fellow man as we go through life. I guess simply put, there are good people and evil people out there. There always will be. Now my question to you is this. Sasquatch certainly have intelligence, perhaps even more so than us. So, would they not be able to display similar traits/characteristics? Would there not be individuals that are mischievous, devious, and full of anger or frustration just like us? Having said this, I strongly believe that there may be rogue Sasquatch males or curious females that might be up to no good in our remote areas. It may be a small number, but after studying the missing people cases from David Paulides' videos, my gut is telling me that some hikers, hunters, fishermen, and yes, children, are being snatched up by these people. What are they doing with them? I don't want to know. It can't be good. Anyways, this is just my opinion, and I try to keep an open mind. As Mr. Paulides has often said, there are many factors involved in these missing cases, and I truly believe that they are, in my mind, Sasquatch are one of these factors. The screams, the tree bashing, the rock throwing tells me that they can be angry and hostile if you get too close to them. This may provide the impetus for some of them to secretly want to get rid of us. Just saying. Anyways, thanks for reading this and staying safe. Feel free to use my name. You're an inspiration to many of us. Martin Welby. Okay, Martin, thanks, man. Just so everybody knows, I'm learning as we go too, right? A big part of me doing this is so I can hear from all the people, because I can't jump on any bandwagons. So, who have I listened to in the past? I've listened to Dave lots. I've listened to other people lots. And Dave made direct mention to me that in all of his investigations, he's never come across one member of any Bigfoot or Sasquatch research team or group that went in the woods ever being harmed ever before, to date. And that was what he was using to back up that more than likely these people aren't responsible for the most part. But then he has directly spoke to many people who have been taken into the sky. And that's not my department, really, right? I haven't been putting too much energy into the any kind of crafts coming from the sky, beings coming from the sky and grabbing people, but there are numerous credible people who have claimed the same experience being taken and taken up. And what Dave has said publicly, that the only thing that he has found that is similar to a lot of the males that have been taken up is the only thing common denominator he's sent so far is the human males that have been returned have all had vasectomies. That's one thing. Also, I think there was a German scientist related pattern in there as well. But anyway, yeah, there's Albert Ostman. He was definitely taken by one of these Sasquatch people for sure, without a doubt. He was investigated, lie detector test, numerous detectives interviewed him, at the whole 9 yards. Not a doubt that happened to him. He lived through it. Would he have lived through it if he didn't escape? Who knows? I don't know. But now I have another credible source, Dr. Melba Ketchum. And I absolutely trust her findings. She's an honest woman and she knows a lot. And she has stated clearly that yes, some of these beings, there are bad ones out there, and they have made people disappear. But as well, I shouldn't say but, I'm adding to all this, from what I understand, from hearing from all of the people, there is way more than just these upright beings running around in a lot of places in North America, around the world in the forest, right? And special note taken, I had an angler email me a couple years ago and didn't want me to share his whole story or anything. So, but I will say that he saw in British Columbia, northwestern British Columbia, in his headlights, campground, remote, he saw this thing walk in front of his vehicle, almost with attitude. And he said it was at least 4.5, 5 feet tall, the shoulders, and looked more like a hyena type of wolf or something. He said it shouldn't even exist. It didn't even know what it was. Scared the living crap out of him. I believe he said his eyes glowed too. But he said it walked from left to right with absolute attitude like he did not even count. And he sat in a truck. So, no, and there's that report of something. So when you have people all around North America and the rest of the world describing these other types of things running around, well, who do you give credit to for making people disappear? Right? Obviously humans are making humans disappear, probably more than anything. Yeah. So I'm definitely leaning towards the possibility and possibly the fact that, yeah, there's some bad ones out there and they've made some people disappear for sure. For sure. Is it that common? I don't know. I mean, if anybody should be gone by now, it should be me. The places I've been going by myself nonstop, especially when I know that these people are there. I know they are. I've heard them, seen their footprints. People I know have seen them where I hunt currently. Not when I was a kid. I mean, I don't hunt where I seen that one when I was a kid anymore. I've been there for years, but I do go by myself to where these people are all the time, and they leave me alone for the most part so far. And there is no way it's by random fluke I'm there and they aren't. There's no way. They have been there when I'm there hunting. 110% they have. But leave me alone, right? Maybe I haven't ran into any of these other frickin' things that are running around the forest yet. I don't know. Do I want to? Not really, unless I got my 300 Ultra Mag in my hands and a pocket full of extra rounds. But anyway, there you go. Keep digging, man. Keep digging. And email back more, all right? Email more knowledge. Because there's a sponge right here waiting for it. That's all I got. It worked. It worked and got me relaxed from our hectic, deranged attempt to travel smoothly. Damn it. Anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you email, get it off your chest. And don't forget, if anybody wants to go fishing for marlin or tuna with possibly one of the best fishermen that ever floated, it's trophyhuntersportfishing.com. And then if you want to, I guess Sarah said a handful of people are starting to book up for July, August this year with me for salmon and halibut on Vancouver Round. So if you want to do that, I think it's bookit at howtohunt.com. I think is where you email if you want to fish with me. What else? I think that's about it. Yeah, Sarah still has her sale going on at the How to Hunt store. And that link's in the bottom too. And our conversation with the great Dr. Melba Ketchum is in the description below too. So there. I hope I got some interesting B-roll on my computer to throw in with this video. If not, oh well. Gonna just stare at my ugly mug in a lame-ass hotel room, right? So I'll be back for sure from somewhere. Later.